My process started with the material swap with my partner. On the left, you can see the parts I kept from my original lamp, and on the right are the parts I received. The new components really shaped my early concepts. They reminded me of smooth rubber pebbles, and that immediately made me think of those balancing stacks of stones people build. So I started exploring a theme of balance. So from there, I wanted to make something playful. So that reminded me of a lamp I saw when I was a kid, one of those self-spinning lamps where the shade turns from the heat of the lamp. And then upon doing a bit of research, I actually learned that it's caused by hot air escaping through slits on top of the shade, kind of like a turbine. So I decided to make a few low fidelity prototypes to see if that idea could work. And then I even thought about combining it with a zoetrope animation. It's one of those old ways of animating on a spinning lampshade kind of thing. But the spinning mechanism turned out to be pretty technical, and I didn't want to overwhelm myself, so I decided to focus on my initial idea of a balance first. So, and then if I had time later, I could come back to the spinning and the animation. So while experimenting with how the lamp could balance, I ended up getting inspired by the roly-poly toys, the ones you punch or tip over and they would always correct themselves and stand back up. And then I researched how they would work and found out that the weight needs to be at the bottom, so it has to have a heavy base. So I made a few prototypes, and then I learned that it was actually doable for my lamp. So then I committed it to that idea, and then I used 2 strips of galvanized steel from the help from the technicians at the studio. I bent them into curved bases and then attached them to the rest of the components. Then I played around with the different parts I got from my partner, testing how their sizes and weights affected the balance. And then once I figured out the right arrangement, I glued everything together and then ended up with my design, a self-balancing roly-poly lamp. I also chose to use a portable battery-powered bulb. So I wanted the lamp to be something you can actually tilt, play with, and move around, and a wired bulb would have made that impossible. The only new materials I used in the construction of my lamp was the 2 strips of galvanized steel and a lot of glue. Although this is not a fully recycled component, it did feel like an acceptable compromise because the rest of the lamp, which was 90%, was constructed from repurposed parts taken from old lamps, and galvanized steel itself is quite sustainable. It is highly durable and resistant to corrosion, so it will last a long time.